All right, what's going on, guys and girls? We are back with another high ticket sales role play. We're going to jump into a health and fitness offer for people that have been struggling to have consistency and sustainability with their health and well-being. Kendra is going to play the closer for us on this offer, and Alex is going to be the prospect. We're going to go beginning to end through the discovery part of the sales call. I'm going to show you the different nuances and what you ultimately need to master as a closer in the discovery so that you can close more deals, make more money, not have to waste your time with handling objections, doing follow up, or simply just not living the life that you want to live as a closer. So, without any further ado, Kendra, crack in with the opening question.
All right, Alex. So, in your opinion, what is the biggest challenge that you're having with your health and fitness right now?
Yeah, I would say the biggest challenge right now, Kendra, is just like not having as much focus. Like I feel like my focus goes down during the day. Like I'll wake up with like a good bit of energy and like get through a few things and then kind of lose my focus. And then I feel like emotional regulation is a little bit low as well. So my ability to like handle stress during the day and like the amount of resilience that I have is a bit low. So I'm in good physical shape, but I feel like mentally, emotionally, I'm not where I really want to be.
Okay. And so, your focus and your energy are there's ups and downs with that in your emotional regulation. So, what do you mean specifically around like your emotional regulation?
Okay, pause. What's a couple of improvements that you could make, Kendra, on the summary? Any ideas?
I get really nervous.
Fine.
I'm
Give me
not sure.
one. Okay, no worries. I'll give you two. One improvement is you want to be very careful that you pick up the exact words that the prospect is putting down. Don't pick up different words because it will start to lower the trust. And the very next question that you ask, the prospect will give you less of an accurate answer. So, unless I misunderstood or misheard, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, guys and girls. Did anybody hear the word energy out of Alex's mouth? I personally don't think I heard that word. Okay, good. It wasn't just me. I don't think I heard any. Hang on, Jeremy said yes.
He said focus and then energy.
Ah,
Um,
interesting. Okay, maybe
yeah.
I missed that there. Good stuff. Focus, energy, then, and there was a couple of other ones. There was emotions, which I think you did mention. There was
Yeah.
stress, and there was resilience. Oh yeah, it was waking up with energy. Well done, guys. At least in my opinion, and I clearly got that wrong. I don't think energy was the key thing. It sounded like the key things were focus, emotions, which digs into stress, and then resilience. So I would have focused on what it sounded like was the main things. That's the first thing. Second thing I would improve on is you want to sound a little bit more confident, a little bit more certain when you're doing the summary. You've got to come across as the leader. You've got to come across as the expert. Okay, got it. So you mentioned your focus, you lose that during the day, you wake up with energy, but it sounds like as the day goes on, you have challenges with your emotional regulation, stress levels, and resilience. Is that correct? Yes. You want to sound very certain. Otherwise, you're going to feel that you're trying to get the information from the prospect you need through your questions, but at the same time, they're going to start looking at you as not someone that they really trust. You've got to do both at the same time. You've got to gather your data with the questions, but you've also got to give this image to the prospect of who you are. You're someone that's very clear, very certain. Okay. All right. So I would do the summary again and then roll into your next question. So go for it.
Okay, so you lose focus during the day, and you mentioned you're having troubles with emotional regulation, stress levels, and resilience. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay, you sounded a little uncertain there.
Well done, Kendra. That was exactly what you needed to do. Before Alex sounded uncertain, did you feel the difference in how you relayed the summary? Can you notice what it feels like for you to be more certain, to be more confident? Okay, good.
Yeah, yeah.
You want to do that every time through the whole call. All right, jump back in where you were. That was perfect what you said.
So you sound a little uncertain there. Did I get anything wrong?
Mm, yeah, no, you got most of it right, Kendra. I just feel like when it comes to the resilience thing, I think it's more just like I think it goes back to the thing that I mentioned where like during the day, the day will start off really well. And even if things aren't going perfectly, like I'll still be emotionally regulated in a good place, like my state will be good. And then the resilience is like later in the day when my energy goes down and things are happening, I'll just like shut down. Or at least I'll notice that there's certain things that lead to me maybe shutting down and being less resilient to certain setbacks or challenges that I'm facing, specifically in my work.
Okay. So what types of things in your work happen that cause your energy to go down later in the day?
Okay, pause. Think about what you just said. There was two things that you need to improve in what you said. You're attacking the right thing, but the way you went about it is going to take the conversation off in the wrong road. There's two things that you did wrong. What do you think it is? Look at the way, if we were reading this as a transcript, how exactly did you ask the question? Let me remind you. You said, what types of things? What types of things? What do you think's wrong with the way you phrased the question?
Is it more leading, or is it?
No, it's a very soft, vague, general way to get the information on what things, and you're asking more of a generalized thing, like what types of things? Give me a ballpark, kind of, is it this? Is it that? Is it these types of things? You want to get a very nitty-gritty, very specific list of things that have actually happened in the last few days, in the last few weeks, in the last few months. So instead of saying what types of things are you having going on at your work where you don't have the emotional resilience, you'd say, so you mentioned by the end of the day, there are things at your work where you don't have the emotional resilience. Give me an example in the last couple weeks of something that happened, like an actual tangible example. You don't have to phrase the question exactly like I said it. There's multiple ways you could say that. I could have said, so you said some things at your work at the end of the day where you don't have emotional resilience. What has been a specific example in the last few days or the last few weeks? Specific example. Just phrase the questions in a more direct way. Second thing you said was, which could have been improved, is you got to give it a timeline. What types of things? I mean, are we going to talk about the last whole year? Maybe that would be good to know that it's been going on for a year, but it's more powerful to know about right now. So I'd say in the last week or in the last month. In this context, that'd probably be a good time period. Okay?
Okay.
Good stuff. Keep going. You're on the right thing, though. You want to get into that information.
Okay, so you said with work, there's things that happen that cause your resilience to go down. Can you give me an example of what happened in the last week that's caused your resilience to go down?
Yeah, I'd say it's more just like kind of day-to-day things that happen. So like I work in sales. So, if I get one of my prospects who's like, hey, I don't want to move forward, and I've already spent like 2 or 3 separate conversations with them and like gotten them to a point where, they're like ready to move forward and they don't, that really lowers my state and it makes it challenging for me emotionally. And then also like I've had last week I had somebody who I brought on as a new client last month, and then they came to me last week and they wanted to get a refund and they wanted to opt out of the service. So like I remember that like really took me out. Like I couldn't function for the rest of the day.
Okay, how often is this occurring?
The refunds?
Before we get into how often or how long it's been going on, which is starting to lead deeper into the call, into the impact, we need to go more layers deep into what's actually going on. So when someone says, I couldn't function, do you know what that means? I couldn't function for the rest of the day. What does that mean? They had a heart attack or they fainted or they had to go home and go to bed? Like, I have no idea. I don't know how extreme it is. And then Alex said, I'm having some emotionally challenging experiences when this happens because I don't have my resilience. Well, what does that mean? You need someone to elicit to you exactly what their experience is. If it's not exact, they're not associated to the experience of what they actually went through. Someone says, oh, I went through some really emotionally challenging things. If you were talking to a friend of yours, you wouldn't go, oh, wow, that sucks. How many times does that happen? You'd go, what things? What do you mean emotionally challenging? Like, what does that mean? Oh, I was at home, I was eating Ben and Jerry's all day long. I was eating ice cream, I was ordering food, I was watching shit on the TV, and I sat there for 10 hours all day. Wow. So you wasted an entire day, not only in the time, but then feeding your body with unhealthy things, right? We need to get the full details of the picture. Make sense?
Yeah. Okay, so when you say you couldn't function for the rest of the day, what does that look like?
I mean,
Sorry,
lately it's just,
one more thing. That's very similar to what you did before. What does that look like is very similar to what types of things. Instead of what does that look like, say, what do you mean? Or what happened? What does it
Okay.
look like? It's just a very vague way to ask the question. I wouldn't say, what does that look like? I'd say, what do you mean? Or what happened? Be more direct in the questions. As you improve all of your questions to be direct, you'll find that your cool time reduces, because the more direct you are with every question, the quicker you'll get to the real stuff. Okay.
Okay.
Asking the right questions, but you're asking them in an indirect way, and it's just going to add extra time onto your call. All right, keep going.
Okay, so when you say you couldn't function for the rest of your day, what do you mean?
yeah. So in that particular instance, I had two other meetings that were booked that day, and they completely tanked. Like I showed up not interested to be there. I had low energy. Like I just didn't want to even be on those calls. And then after my day ended at that point, usually I would like do another like workout, like a stretch or a walk, and I would typically have like a good healthy dinner, do some reading, and instead I overate. It's like not like super unhealthy food, but just overate in general, and like felt like super bloated and just felt sluggish. And then I spent like an hour scrolling on social media before I went to bed, and yeah, and then that then put me in a state where I was like feeling a lot of guilt by the end of the day, because like not only did I mess up earlier, like then I just let it ruin the rest of my day. And so like that's been happening now for a while.
Okay.
In this context, he gave you a lot. He gave you all
Yeah.
sorts of things. It's been going on for a while. I feel guilty. It's affecting my exercise. It's affecting my work. In this context, perfect example, we talked about this on Wednesday. When someone gives you a lot, you have to summarize. Otherwise, you'll lose track of where you are. Okay,
Okay.
keep going.
Okay, so you tanked the last two meetings of the day. Your energy was low, and instead of doing your workout and having your healthy dinner, you still had your healthy dinner, but you overate and spent the rest of your time scrolling. And then you mentioned that you felt guilty and it ruined the rest of your day. And it's been happening for a while. So, how long has this been going on for?
After you summarize, pause. Don't
Okay.
ask the question, just pause. Or you can ask, is that accurate about your summary? But don't ask for more information. Otherwise, you'll start stacking things on top of each other and you'll get stuck. Just do the summary. Is that
Okay.
accurate? Is that correct? Let them clarify where you're at and then move on. A good analogy for this is if you've ever seen rock climbers that climb on a real wall, not like in an indoor facility. As they're climbing up, they'll nail something into the rock so that before they go to the next level, if they fall, they're only going to fall back to that previous level. They can't fall all the way to the ground. That's kind of what you're doing with a summary. You're kind of checking that we've got this level. Is that correct? You're checking that the hold in the wall is tight. Yes. Now I'm going to go to the next level. The rock climber wouldn't, pass one level, kind of half put a hold into the wall and then keep climbing, because that would be really dangerous. Okay, make
Mm.
sense? All right, keep
Yeah.
going.
Good analogy.
Yeah. Do you want me to re-summarize? Do it again.
Yeah, redo the summary and then I would pause and then see what Alex says. Because sometimes they'll add something, sometimes they'll just go, yes, that's correct. And then you would add your next question.
Okay, so after you didn't close that deal, you had two other meetings. Your energy was tanked during those meetings, and it ruined the rest of your day. You said that typically you would do a workout, have a healthy dinner, but instead you overate and spent the rest of your time scrolling on social media, and that made you feel guilty. Is that right?
Yeah, that was a refund But otherwise, it's not
Oh,
that I missed the deal; it was a refund. And otherwise, but yeah, what you said is exactly what ended up happening that day.
gotcha. Thank you for correcting me on that.
Mhm.
Now, one additional thing with recaps, when prospects are giving you lots of different tentacles of like, well, it's the work, it's the exercise, it's the guilt, it's the this, it's the that. One thing that I like to do is to do my first recap like you just did. And as I'm going through in the call, I'm gonna start consolidating the information. And I'll give you an example of what that means, and it'll be very clear because if you don't start consolidating, you're getting one recap, getting more information, then your next recap's even bigger, your next recap's even bigger, and you're like, shit, we've got so much going on with this. How do we try and narrow it down? So an example of what that would look like is I would go, okay, got it. So at least where we're at now, Alex, it seems like this health issue is affecting three things: your workouts, so physical health, your work, which is your financial results, and you're emotionally carrying this feeling of guilt around a lot of the time. Is that accurate? Yes. Now, what I've done is I've consolidated it into like we've got three different things. We've got his physical health, his financial health, and his emotional health. Does that make sense as far as consolidating things? Otherwise, you'll just find you've got 17 different summaries that keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, that's super helpful because I do find there's always so many different aspects to it, so it makes it very like
Yep.
it's just like 100 different things. Okay.
All right, good.
Okay, so Alex, it sounds like I have a question for you, Josh. I'm kind of lost my spot here. So when I summarize, because if I say it sounds like this is affecting, so it would be like the emotional regulation or the resilience.
Well, if you think of it like we're going deeper and deeper into the layers, the
Mhm.
first layer that he told us is its focus, its emotions, its stress, its resilience. That's all like layer one. We've now got into the impact of those things, which is you're not selling someone having less stress. You're not selling someone having more resilience. You're not selling someone having more focus. You're selling them the fixing of the things that those things are taking away from their life. Like nobody cares about focus. People care about, I need the focus for blank, blank, blank. You can't sell someone, hey, how much longer do you want to not have focus? They're not going to buy anything. It's how much longer do you want to have the health issues that are causing you to not have the focus? That means you're losing $300,000 a year from all of these meetings that you keep tanking. That's what you're selling them is the impact of the impact. And so what we've now got deeper into is who gives a shit about the emotions, the stress, the resilience, the focus? We care about the impact of those things now, which is his exercising, his work, and him carrying around this feeling emotionally of being guilty. That's the deeper layer. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, cool.
Yes.
You go.
Okay. So it sounds like this is affecting a few areas of your life. So your workouts, your financial situation, and also you're carrying around this guilt as well,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
I would have done what you did previously in the call when you noticed that Alex didn't really seem so sure. In this case, it wasn't that emotion, but there was something interesting about the way he said, yeah, it was almost like quite heavy, like quite pensive. Like, okay, when I summarize that, you seemed, I don't really know the word for it, Alex, but quite serious about that summary. Why is that? Well, I guess I've never really thought about how much it's just blanketing, affecting all areas of my life. Okay, do you agree with that? Yes, I do. Why? Well, when I really think about it, my entire life experience is affected by this health issue. Wow. Okay. So I would have gone deeper onto the fact that when you did that summary, it was like he was like, yeah, it was almost like sad about it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
keep going.
Okay. Where should I start from?
Wherever you want to.
Okay. Um, okay. So, Alex, it sounds like this is really affecting a few areas of your life, your workouts, your financial situation, and you're also carrying around this guilt. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. He didn't sound as it didn't sound as heavy that time. So
Wasn't maybe as heavy, but I still think he sounded pretty heavy. You got to do better acting, Alex. Got to have consistency in this acting.
It didn't hit as hard the second time.
No, unfortunately.
The first was very, very authentic, but I can get back to it. No worries.
I would just go from there, Kendra. Anyway, I would say something like you seem pretty heavy about that. I'm pretty heavy about that.
It sounds like that was pretty heavy for you. Is that, I'm sensing a little bit of heaviness around that. Is that right?
Okay, if that's the way that you would phrase it, like as a person, like that's your communication, it sounded much more authentic when you said it the second time. I'm sensing heaviness. Like that just felt like it was your words, which is very powerful. Got to say things like there's a fine line between saying things the way that you would say them, but then if you say them the way you say them, you would say them, but it's not powerful, then I'm going to have to orient you to a more powerful way to say it. But there can be multiple versions of a more powerful way to say something. There could be the way I would say it, and there could be a very powerful way that you would say it. So long as we're moving from a non-powerful way to express our communication to a powerful way, it doesn't have to be the way I would say it. Does that make sense? Okay,
yes. Good. So I'm sensing a little bit of heaviness there. What's going on?
Yeah, I didn't realize how many areas of I mean, pretty much every major area of my life that I care about is being affected by this.
Okay. Would I ask how he feels about that, or would I ask how long it's been going on for first?
Personally, in this context, I would ask neither of those. I would have challenged the prospect. Any idea what I would have said? Because of the way he phrased the answer, I'm very curious about something. Any idea what I would be curious about? He said something to the effect of, I hadn't realized how it's affecting basically all areas of my life. So my curiosity is, I would have said, I'm curious, Alex, if it is affecting all areas of your life, any particular reason you weren't aware of that? Like that's what I'm most curious about. I'm like, how can something be affecting every area of someone's life, but they're not really aware of it? And I don't want to put words into Alex, the prospect's mouth, because I want him to just go wherever. But imagine if he then said something like, well, I think, to be honest, I've been in denial. Okay. How long have you been in denial about this? Oh, probably 2 years, 3 years. Okay. Well, if you've been in denial for 2 or 3 years, did something change? Yeah, actually. And now from going that direction, we're going to get deeper and deeper into the call of not only the ownership that he's been in denial, but now the turning point. And when we get into the turning point, then we're going to get deeper and deeper into the pain, whatever the turning point was. I always use the same example, but he says, oh, my wife just had a baby. Okay, well, why was that a turning point? Well, I guess, as a guy that was just in a relationship with no kids, I was able to be in denial, but now we've got the kid. I'm not able to live in that denial anymore. Why not? Well, because of whatever reason he wants to tell you. That makes sense. So like the thing that I would have been most curious about there was like, he said it's affecting every area of his life, but he wasn't aware of it. Like, I mean, that just doesn't add up to me. But I'm not saying it doesn't add up that I'm going to judge the prospect like, oh, well, you're an idiot. If it's not obvious to you that this is affecting your life, then you're an idiot. I'm not going to be judgmental. I don't understand. I don't understand the full picture of what's going on with this prospect, that something can be affecting all areas of their life, but they weren't aware of it. How? Like, explain that to me. Like, I'm genuinely invested and curious in the prospect's way of wrapping their head. So that's where all right. Yeah.
Okay. So this is affecting all areas of your life, and you seem like you weren't aware of that. Why is that?
I mean, I guess I was aware on like some level, but I didn't realize just how much it was affecting these areas.
Gotcha. I don't know where to go from here.
Worries. So he said, I realized it was affecting me on some level. So my curiosity, knowing what I need to do for a sale, is what level is it at now that you're aware it's affecting all of your life? What level is it now? Well, now it's like a 9 out of 10. Interesting. Why is that? What changed? Whenever someone gives you vague information, pretty much you can guarantee that where you go next on the sales call is to clarify the vague information. Well, I guess I was aware of it on some level. Well, what level are you aware of it now? Oh, now it's much higher. Okay, when you say again much higher, that's still vague. He's told me it's higher than before, but I mean, what, 1 point higher or 50 points higher? Okay, so when you say it's higher than before, if you put it on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you're fully aware that this is basically crippling all areas of your life, zero being, it can be denied. What level are you at now? Oh, now it's like a 9 out of 10. Why? I'm still just leading into the pain, but I'm just doing it from a place of curiosity. Anytime someone says something, if you listen hard enough, you'll hear like what the next question is. He said, "Oh, I was aware at some level." Well, I'm curious then, what level is it at now? Make sense?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so I'm curious, like, what level is it at now?
Well, I think it's much higher now, probably higher than it's ever been, of course. And I don't know. I mean, I'm quite aware now that it's affecting me in a lot of different areas.
Okay. So on a scale from 1 to 10, where is that awareness level now for you?
You've got to
Probably at least a 9.
describe the levels. So you got to say 10 being blank and zero being this.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Mm.
what the scale means.
Right. Okay. So on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being fully aware and 1 being
Contextualize, fully aware.
uh, fully aware of how much this is affecting all areas of life.
Very good. Using the prospect's word, fully aware of how this is affecting all areas of your life. And zero being you're not aware that it's affecting areas, you're not aware that it's affecting all areas, you're basically just not aware. Where would you put yourself now? Yeah.
Okay. So on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being fully aware of how much this is affecting all areas of your life, and 1 being you really have zero awareness at all, where is that level for you now?
Probably a 9.
Okay. Why is that?
Well, up until recently, I've been living alone, and my parents were getting older and actually fell a little bit ill. And so I took them into my house, and, they've made some comments recently as they've been watching me day to day. And I've been noticing some of my habits and how my mood changes, throughout the day. So that's, um, that's happened recently.
Okay. So you were living alone, and then your parents were ill, so they came to live with you, and they've been making some comments, and you've started noticing your habits and your focus and your energy levels changing throughout the day. Is that right?
Well, they've like, I guess, helped me realize just how intense it is.
Okay. And so, how intense it is, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, just like, I guess, the intensity of the emotional shifts and the shutting down, and just how I respond to them, let's say in the morning when things are going well, versus later in the day when like a refund happens or a prospect doesn't want to move forward anymore, a no show or whatever. And then when I interact with them, it's like I can tell it affects them.
Okay. And affects them in what ways?
I don't know, just like, I guess, like their mood changes. Like they'll just try to ask me like a basic question about something, or I have a dog in the house, so they'll mention something about the dog, and I'll just like get super frustrated. And then, they'll kind of just like shut down from there because they don't want to deal with me.
Hmm. So you mentioned there that you get super frustrated. How do you mean by that?
Yeah, just like I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to answer questions about the dog or the garage or whatever the question might be about, something around the house. I just want to shut down, and yeah, just not have any conversation. go lay down or go scroll on social media or order some food or something. Just last thing I want to do is answer random questions about stuff around the house.
Okay.
What's the back door that this guy could get out of, which would mean he wouldn't need to buy? This is real objection handling, guys. It's not, oh, what's the partner objection, or what's the time objection, or what's the fucking spouse said partner, think about objection. You got to find the real tangible. Well done, Emil. It's like, well, how long do you plan on your parents being at your house? Well, they'll probably be here for another 3 weeks. Okay, well, after that, what's the issue? Well done, Emil. Good stuff. If the issue is that his parents have made him realize, because when his parents are there, they make comments and they don't want to deal with him, well, then surely one of the alternative solutions is just kick his parents out. Now, you would phrase it, but that's what you need to handle as far as an objection is. Okay, so it sounds like now your parents are here, they've made some comments, and that's brought your realization to your moods, you shutting down, things like that. Your parents don't want to deal with you. What about when your parents leave? Oh no, I still need to fix it anyway, because now objection gone. He's just sold himself that even once his parents are gone, that still needs to be resolved. Does that make sense? What I'm looking for, I'm hearing that as an objection and thinking, well, if I don't cover it, and it won't come at the end of the call as, oh, the price is $9,000. You know what? I think my parents are going to leave in a few weeks, so it's not a big deal. They won't tell you that. They won't tell you directly what the objection was. They'll tell you, I need to ask my partner. I need to think about it. I'm not sure I have the time. Oh, it's a lot of money. Those aren't the real objections. They're just like buckets that people put their reason to not buy into. But the real reason that people don't buy is their personal backdoors, the personal reasons that they can get out of buying. If you shut all of those reasons, the money doesn't matter, the time doesn't matter, needing anyone else's permission doesn't matter, and they damn as hell don't fucking think about it. They take action right now. If there is no other ways for them to solve a burning problem, they will figure it out. They will tell you, I'm going to do it now, or hey, I'm going to go and try and find the money. And then same story we've said before, you don't have to follow up with them. They go and do their thing and they come back to you. The opposite is when they have their own reasons to not buy. And this is one of those perfect examples. Okay, so you need to cover that thing about, what about when the parents leave?
Okay, so your parents are living with you right now and they're making some comments, and you don't want to answer these questions that they're asking you. How long is your parents going to be at your place for?
Careful the way you phrase questions, because people don't he probably doesn't know. So you can still ask the question, but you have to phrase it slightly different, which is, how long do you plan on having your parents staying? How long do you plan on it? It's not how long do you know they're going to stay? He's like, well, I don't know. So be careful the way you word your questions. Okay.
Okay.
Say it again, just give them a little bit more leeway, because otherwise you'll just waste your time with him saying, oh, I don't know. And then you're like, well, do you have a ballpark? You could have just asked that straight away. You could have asked the second question without the first question. And imagine if in a sales call you have 20 questions, well, now you'd be having 40 questions to get the same 20 pieces of information. That's why your calls take twice as long. All right, keep going.
Okay. So how long do you plan on having your parents living with you for?
Probably for a while. And the only thing I've been thinking I could do is, save up enough to then maybe buy a second home that, they could be in somewhere nearby, but probably for a while.
Okay. And then so would I say, like, how long is a while?
Yeah, because you don't know.
Okay.
But when
So
you
how
say
long-
a while, are we talking another 6 weeks, another 6 months, another 6 years?
Okay.
I don't know, probably another year. Okay, cool. Got it. Very simple.
Okay. So when you say a while, is that going to be another 3 weeks, another 6 months, another year?
Yeah, at least another year, it seems like.
Okay. And then, so if he says a year,
What do you think about the objection now?
well, the objection could be that he could just wait out a year and wouldn't really
Could do, but it's much, much, much more unlikely than if he'd have said, oh, they'll probably be here another 6 weeks.
Okay.
I mean, let's say your program's somewhere between 5 to 10K and someone has to go through this experience of living with their parents and their parents don't want to deal with them for another year. It's like, well, I don't think he's going to have that as the back door to not buy. Like it's still going to be bad enough that he's got to deal with it for a year. Okay. So that's why being curious about, is this an objection or is this not an objection? You've now, like, you're stacking the deck in your favor as a closer. You're not leaving things up to chance. It's like, imagine if we hadn't asked that question, we don't know if it's going to be 6 weeks or 6 years. You're just leaving it up to chance at the end of the call. I don't want to leave anything up to chance, especially not when my income is based on it. I want to cover everything. I want to know, okay, cool. That is not going to come up at the end of the call because I've gone into it. I've dug into it and it's not an objection. Anything that comes up as an objection or a no sale at the end of the call, guys, that is a surprise to you, you're like, oh shit, where did that come from? That's just because you didn't dig into everything. There should be no surprises at the end of a sales call. The only surprise you might get, which is when someone is a massive, I was going to say narcissist, but there's other ways that they can be, but basically they're extremely good at acting as a person. The only one that should ever be a surprise is someone is telling you everything you need to hear through the sales call. They tell you, yep, I'm in, I'm committed, I need to do it, blah, blah, blah. You get to the price and they hang up the phone. Like that one is a bit of a surprise because they've just been like lying to you for the last 45 minutes, pretending that they're admitting ownership, they're admitting responsibility. That one's a bit of a surprise, but there should be no objections that come up that are a surprise.
Okay.
Just get to stuff. All right, keep going.
I don't really know where to start off from here.
Let's look at a couple of things that we can dig into.
The starting and stopping really messes with my
the what?
The starting and stopping messes with me. I guess like being present and being in flow. So
let me try and cut you off less then. Where you want to go from is basically further into the parents, because that's the deepest layer we've got right now, is his parents being there, making the comments, and his parents not wanting to deal with him. Well, what comments are they making, and what does he mean they don't want to deal with him? Based on what he says, what's that experience like? What's the experience of living with your parents that don't want to deal with you?
Okay.
When was the last time that happened? How often is that happening? How's that make you feel? How's it affecting you? And then we're pretty much at the point where we can start summarizing, and then we need to get into a little bit more ownership and responsibility and why does he need a program? But the summary to kind of start consolidating things is going to be how much of an impact is it having on his workouts? How much money has he lost in his job? How is his day-to-day experience of feeling guilty? How is his day-to-day experience of living with his parents that don't want to deal with him? And then, stack that all up as making your case. Okay, so this has cost you 2 meetings a day for the last 52 weeks. You've lost about 104 meetings. How much do you earn a meeting if you close the deal? Well, $500. Okay, and when you are with your focus and you do have your emotional regulation down, what's your close rate? Oh, it's 50%. I'm just making up a random number. Okay, so you've not closed about 50 deals in the last year because of your focus fading by the end of the day and your resilience. How much do you make a deal? $1,000. Okay, so you've lost $50,000 from this. Is that accurate? Yes. Okay, got it. And the workouts, like how's your health and fitness right now? Oh, I've put on about 50 pounds. Okay, how's that affecting the other areas of your life? Well, it's affecting my dating life. Okay, cool. Well, you wouldn't say cool, but okay, got it. $50,000, no more dates, living with his parents, having a shit life with his parents. I'm curious, Alex, like, was there any turning point with this experience more recently, maybe in the last few days or few weeks, where it became time to fix this? Yes. What happened? Well, it was this and this and this. Okay. Why did that make you realize you need to fix it? Well, because of this. What do you need to fix it? Oh, I need this and this. Okay. Why from us? Because of this reason. How much longer? Tied down, done. So all you're doing now from this point is going a little bit deeper into a couple of the data points. We need to know how much money he's losing at his job. We need to know how not doing the workouts is actually affecting his health. We need to know what his day-to-day experience is of his parents not wanting to deal with him. And then once we've got the like tangible brass tack impacts of all of those things, then we need to move into like tying it down in terms of why now. And then that's it. You're like in the front part of the call when you're gathering data, it can sometimes feel like you're opening a lot of open loops. You're opening a lot of information, and it is going to feel overwhelming sometimes. You're getting all of this information, and you actually have to make it worse before you can make it better. You have to go even deeper into all of those pieces of information and then go, okay, I've got the end result of the fitness, the end result of the finances, the end result of the emotional guilt, and the end result of his parents living with him and not wanting to deal with him. Now I've got the end result. I can kind of clean my whiteboard of all of the tertiary information that got us to those final points and just consolidate those final 4 points and say, okay, so it's this, 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 and this as far as the impact. Is that accurate? Yes. So I'm curious, with it affecting you in these 4 ways at this level, was there a turning point you had recently living with your parents, them not wanting to deal with you? Maybe it's the workouts, maybe it's the work situation, maybe it's the guilt. Was there a turning point you had recently where you needed to fix this now? Yes. What was it? That part of the conversation is just consolidating the commitment to do it now. Then we need to know what you would typically call solution, which is what does he need to fix it? Why does he need it from us? And then how much longer? And that's pretty much the call. Does that make sense to everyone? Why did you say sheep, Harrison? While Harrison types that out, does that make sense to you, Kendra?
It makes sense. Yes. It's just, I guess for me, I know like covering all those spots, sometimes it just feels like it's like you said, it's like a lot of things. And then so being able to condense it down feels like I don't gather the data on the specific things of like, okay, so your workouts, how's that actually like affecting your health, or like the financial situation and stuff like that. So yeah, so it makes sense when you say it. It's just actually doing it and putting it into practice has been something that I just need to practice more.
Makes total sense. Let me break it down for you all on a whiteboard. This is the center of the onion. We have a layer here. We have a layer here. We have a layer here. And we have a layer there. Okay, so we're always peeling back the layers. So layer one, we asked the opening question, and he said, my issues, my challenges are losing focus by end of day, emotional regulation, stress, which is in emotional regulation, and resilience. Okay, so that's layer one. We got layer one, easy stuff. The question you have to always ask yourself is, so what? Okay, you have no focus by the end of the day, you have no emotional regulation control, you have stress, you have resilience. So, and until the so equals price of your program, you won't sell. It's that simple. Until the answer to the so equals the price of the program, and it's not just the price, it's also the fact that people don't like change. So not only are you asking them to give you money, you're also asking them to actually go out of their way in terms of time, in terms of changing direction in life, in terms of studying something, in terms of joining a community with a bunch of strangers that they don't know, all of those different things, until the so equals the trade-off. If I draw it like this, guys, it should be pretty obvious. Until the so equals the other side of the equation, like they're not going to buy. If the so on this side of the equation is so small, and on this side of the equation, what they need is they need to give you money, time, effort, commitment, change, which is fear of change, and you could call it outside of comfort zone. Until the so equals more than these things, they're not going to buy from you. And so all you're doing in sales is by asking questions, you're digging into the so what. So what? I'm losing focus by the end of the day, my emotional regulation, my stress. So, next thing that he said was 2 meetings per day, workouts, guilty. But that was the next layer. It's like, okay, you're missing 2 meetings a day, you're missing your workouts, and you feel guilty. Is that you're going to give me money? You're going to give me your time? You're going to give me your effort? You're going to give me your commitment? You're going to give me your change of direction? Fuck no. Of course not. They're not going to do that. So we have to go even deeper. Now, then we get into living with parents. They don't want to deal with me. Again, it's like, so like, are you going to buy from me right now? Probably fucking not. So I would still say so, and then I don't know how you do this on a keyboard, but it's like does not equal $5,000. It's not the line should be through the equals, but you get what I'm trying to do, guys. So like we're just going deeper and deeper until you get to a point where this actually makes sense. Now, let me show you where that would have gone to, which I've just explained, but to kind of say it again, 2 meetings per day. Is that on average? Let's say he says yes. And we find out that that is $1,000 a day that he's losing, and it's been going on for 2 years. Well, then we can tell him that he's lost $104,000. I mean, that on its own, well, it might tip the curve on this turning over. However, if you want to be a really good salesperson, you do not try and do this. Do not try and do this if you want to be a really, really good salesperson. Get to the moment where it is like here and it's like just over the fucking line. If you want to do that, have fun having an average income. You want to get to the point where it's fucking like, well, that's a little bit extreme, but where it's basically like that. And it's like, there's no fucking way they're not buying. Like, there is no fucking way they are not buying from me. Okay. So just doing this, they could buy. And so, like, we could say with our little diagram here, when we say, instead of saying so, we don't say so, we would say could buy. Well, I don't really want to be trying to sell someone that could buy my product. I want to be selling someone at the point, and I'll keep stacking this up over here, where it would be fucking absurd for them to not buy. Like, that's where I want to take the sales call, which is why I know before I roll into the pitch, okay, this guy's going to buy. And if they don't buy, it was like, I am gobsmacked. Like my beliefs around reality are currently being shattered that this person is so damn absurd. And it's just blowing my mind. Okay. Does that make sense, guys? All right. So the second one, so that's the money. Then we want to know about the workouts. How many workouts has he missed? Workouts missed. What impact has that had on his health and fitness? What impact has his blank fitness failures had on the other impact of his life? ... Dating life, most probably. Dating life, social life, back to work, which is money. And these things can tie back together again because everything, and this is a key thing for you to probably write down, guys. There is something called let me try and draw it like this. Any of you have ever seen a piece of fabric, how a fabric is woven like that? And the fabric goes through that. All of the fabric is all woven together. Okay, the fabric of life is faith, fitness, family, finances. And what I mean by the fabric is that all of these are tied together. If your money goes down, your dating life will go down. If your dating life and your money go down, your family life is going to go down. Your faith is going to go down. It's all connected. You can't pull the string of faith up without it moving the string of finances out, and the one of fitness out, and the one of family out. They're all connected together. You can't pull one thread without it affecting the others. Okay. But when you're on a sales call, you want to try and have a conversation about at least these three. Faith is usually less discussed literally. You usually discuss the money, the fitness, and the family, which is, you could also just call this sex, social, dating, human interaction, that sort of thing there. Okay, that's all that category. Okay, so we dig into this. We've now got, $104,000, no fucking dating life. Oh, we've got plus no self-confidence, which, by the way, that would not be a deep enough layer. Who gives a shit about low self-confidence? That would be over here. We care about the impact of the low self-confidence, which is he has no dating life, no friends, spends all day feeling he has no fun / meaning in life, etc., etc. So we've got dating life, we've got, his personal way he feels in the mirror, we've got money. We then want to tie it into, what exactly happens at home when your parents, quote unquote, don't want to deal with you. We spend 1 week at a time in silence. Wow. How does that make you feel? Right? How long has it been like that? 2 years. So now, the tangible thing would be being in silence and how it makes him feel, which would be, he would probably say, I feel terrible. Okay. And then you would say, why? Well, my parents are 85 years old. I don't know how much longer they have left to live, etc., 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 etc. So now we've got this thing. We've got this thing. We've got this thing. We've got having no meaning in life, which is kind of an emotional burden. What else would we get? What else did he say? We've got the parents, we've got the workouts, we've got the money, we've got the guilt. By that point, that's probably enough. So then your summary is, okay, got it. So this has been an issue for the last 2 years. It's cost you $104,000. You've had no dating life for the last 2 years. You live your life feeling like you don't have any meaning. Your parents are getting older. You don't know how much longer they have left to live. Maybe another 5 years, maybe another 10, who knows? And you're going for, on average, about 6 months of the year living with your parents whilst all three of you are in silence. And yeah, is that accurate? Yes. Okay, I'm curious, how much longer are you willing to pay these costs by not having dealt with your health and fitness? Like, by that point, the seesaw is pretty far tipped in this direction. So all we're doing is going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper until the things that we've got, there is no longer a so what. The so what has disappeared. It's so fucking obvious what the so what is that they're going to have to buy. Now that's just the pain and the problem section of the sales call. The other parts of the sales call that we still have to do is commitment plus ownership. Why now? Like, what was the / turning point? What was the actual tangible why now turning point? That's, plus responsibility, however you guys want to call that. Like, basically, they need to admit to you, it's my fault. If they can't tell you in some type of phrasing, it's my fault, they won't buy from you. It doesn't matter how much pain someone has, doesn't matter how much of a problem someone has. If they don't think it's their fault, they will not buy from you. They need to have pain / problem plus it's my fault. Then they need to have a why now. Then they need to have belief / certainty on solutions. In other words, if I had this, this, and this, I would no longer have this, this, and this. They need to have that other side of the coin. And then you just have a how much longer question with a summary. Okay. Now, the key thing, guys, is I've drawn this before many, 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 many months ago. So I think most of you have probably never seen this. It's not exactly the right shape, but we probably have to do. There is something called the golden ratio. Anybody know the ratio? And oh, that's definitely the right shape. The golden ratio should probably look something like, I should probably just get a golden ratio off the internet. Golden ratio looks something like this. Oh shit. This is how nature works, guys, and this is why it works for everything, including sales calls, because it's just nature. All right, and it just goes smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until something like that. And the golden ratio is basically a spiral that goes up there, down there, down there, down there, down there, down there, and it does something like that at the end. Okay. And the golden ratio basically just shows that the proportions of things are incrementally getting larger or incrementally getting smaller. Okay. With a sales call, this bit here is the pain slash the problem, meaning like more than 50% of what you're actually doing as far as effort on the sales call is the pain and the problem. When you get to the fucking how much longer question, it's like so fucking easy so long as you've done this. And when you try and get to the ownership and the responsibility, it's so much easier if you've done this. When you try and get to the why now, it's so much easier if you've done this bit and this bit. And so the reason I'm showing you this, guys, is to understand that you've got all of these different things in a sales call: pain and problem, ownership, responsibility, why now, what do they think they need to solve it, and then just tie them down for commitment. But the way I've drawn these, they kind of look equal weighting, like, well, that's one, that's one, that's one, that's one, that's one. No, this is 50. This is like 25. This is like 10. This is like a fucking 2, and this is a 1, which is another reason why I don't believe in sales scripts, because a sales script says beginning to the end of a sales call, you've got problem section, whatever they call it, pain section, solution section, commitment section. I don't even remember them anymore, guys, but you've got all of these different sections, and they try and say that they're all about the same size. They're all about the same weight. They're not. This bit at the front part of the call is where all of the fucking work is done. And if you do this wrong, you are not going to be able to get commitment or ownership. You're not going to get a why now. That whatever they tell you about solutions doesn't matter, and you're not going to tie them down. If you do this bit correctly, it's literally like this, guys. Pain slash problem, climbing up the mountain, and on the other side, you're just coming down the mountain. It's really not that difficult to do the other stuff. Because if someone truly gets to express to you the real deep layer of the pain and the problem, they're going to tell you that there's a why now. They're going to admit to you that it's their fucking fault. They're going to tell you, I think I need this, this, and this. Okay, cool. And then they're going to tell you, I don't want to live this life another day. But if you stop at layer 1 or layer 2 or layer 3, and then you try and move on to this bit here, or this bit here, or this bit here, you're not going to get anywhere, guys. So the reason that you need to understand this Fibonacci or this golden ratio is to really understand how important it is to truly master this part of the sales call. It's like there was a great book. I think it's called How to Learn by a guy called Josh Waitzkin. I'm pretty sure it's called How to Learn. And this guy has become like a champion in multiple different fields. He became a chess champion, then he became a martial arts champion. And the reason he was able to do this, and this is a guy that Tim Ferriss studied, if any of you know who Tim Ferriss is. The reason he was able to do this, I think he also became like a surfing champion or something. I'll find the book for you guys. It's Josh Waitzkin. Oh, The Art of Learning. Sorry, The Art of Learning, this book. All right. you can see that there was also an inner journey to optimal performance. You can also see there's Huberman here as well, like he's had him on. Anyway, the key thing that I'm trying to tell you is that there is a lot of people that are able to become number one in one field. A lot of people. There are very few people that are able to become number one in two different fields. And exponentially, there are way less. This is like kind of the Fibonacci sequence as well. This is like infinitely less than this. This is infinitely less than this, and it just gets infinitely smaller and smaller. And so when someone is able to become like, and I say number one, maybe he was top 10 or top 50 or whatever in the world. When someone's able to become the top 0.0001% in multiple different fields, you have to wonder, how did they do it? What exactly did they do that they were able to become top 0.0001%? And in the book, what the guy says is that the reason he was able to do it is that what most people do when they're trying to learn something is there are multiple different things that they need to learn. And so they spend equal amount of time working on all of the different things that cumulatively are all of the things that are the inputs to get to a result. So let's say we took basketball, you might have your fitness, you might have 3-pointers, you might have your dribbling skills, etc., etc. Okay. And what this guy realized is that there is a disproportional relationship between a very, very small number of things that actually have a very high input to the result, which is, in simple terms, guys, is the 80-20 principle. But it's not 80-20. It's like 99-1, meaning there is a massive amount of the results of something that actually come from a very small amount of the inputs. And so this guy, Josh Waitzkin, he realized, I'll get this technically inaccurate, but just to give you the example, if he wants to become a chess master, a chess grandmaster, what most people would do is try and learn beginning game, middle game, and end game. And I don't play chess, guys, so this is very basic knowledge for me, but there is different parts of chess that you need to master. He realized that there is one certain section of the certain section that accounts for, like, that's probably a slight exaggeration, 90% of the results. Like, if I just master this section of chess, I will have done 90% of what determines a win or a loss in the game. And so what most people do is they have, let's just say, 100 hours, and they put 33 hours into this, 33 hours into this, and 33 hours into this. He realized, well, if I put like 85 hours into this one tiny little section, and I just put the other bits of my hours into that, I'm now stacking the deck in my favor. And he realized that for everything in life, it's the same. There is like a very small section of whatever the task is you're doing that accounts for a massive amount of the results. So I say all of this to go back to what I was saying before, which is in sales, that section that you need to master, guys and gals, is this: the pain slash the problem, which also equals, guys, by the way, the cost, the opportunity cost of them not doing something about this right now. Do not try and master, guys, the why now, the commitment or the ownership, the fucking solutions section. How exactly do I do my how much longer question? Definitely don't fucking try and master objections or tonality or any of that BS. Because if you want to master sales, 95% of your sales success is going to come down to you just mastering how to go deeper and deeper into the pain and the problem. And if you do that, you're doing the uphill work, and the downhill work is just really, really, really easy. Does that make sense, everyone? Okay, good. Yeah, like Alex said, Holy Grail. Like, you know, if you look at your health and fitness, if you want to, which is why it's the thing that we focus on, health and fitness, you've got, diet, you've got exercise, you've got water, you've got supplements, you've got, mental health, etc., etc. Well, most people try and put, a percentage into this, a percentage into this, a percentage into this, a percentage into this, and a percentage into this, and very, very little into the one I intentionally left at the end, which is sleep. If you actually flip it and you look at the Fibonacci, you look at the golden ratio of everything, which, by the way, this is the formula that I use to design everything that's in the mastermind, which is this. All of this is sleep. If you just master your sleep, your metabolism will be better. Your ability to want to go to the gym and perform in the gym will be better. It's not directly going to affect your water, but your body will be more hydrated because your body's running better. You don't need anywhere near as much supplements, which, by the way, do not have any impact compared to mastering your sleep. And your mental health is all going to be affected also by your sleep. So these things are not equally weighted, guys, which is why most people spend so much time to get so little results. Whereas if you actually understand the golden ratio of things, you realize, the holy grail item is in health and fitness, the holy grail of holy grails is mastering your sleep. There is nothing more important than mastering your sleep when it comes to health and fitness. Hence why that is what we focus on. We don't say, hey guys, here's a list of supplements. Make sure you take creatine and omega-3s and all that bullshit. Meanwhile, all of you are sleeping like shit. There's no point. Does that make sense? Okay, good. All right. That's pretty much it, guys. I think we've done enough of the role play, and hopefully this makes sense as to what any of you need to work on is always, always, always focus on going deeper, 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 until in your mind, you would be willing to bet your house that the so what that this person not could buy, wherever the fuck I wrote it, should buy, I put it somewhere. I have no idea where I wrote it, but they should buy is so obvious based on all of these things that you've dug into. Just focus on mastering that. Okay. And if any of you want to read the book, Josh Waitskin, the better thing to do, because it's quite a long book, pretty much for nothing more than I've just told you. I wouldn't buy the book. I wouldn't read it. Just go on YouTube and get one of those book summaries and get like book summary in 10 minutes and just watch the 10-minute book summary. You don't need to read a 300-page book on basically what I've just told you, but it would be interesting for you to all watch like the 10-minute summary of the video. Okay. All right, folks, let's spend 5-10 minutes doing some questions, Q&A, and then we will finish up. I think it's called The Art of Learning, Habib. The Art of Learning. And it's Josh Waitskin, like that. If you like that, by the way, it's pretty much the same principle as everything that Tim Ferriss was always studying. He was always looking for what's called asymmetrical returns. In life, guys, if you want to be a champion, always focus on asymmetrical returns. What is the thing that is going to give me an asymmetrical return? By the way, I've listed them all out in the Launchpad. That's why the Launchpad is there. I studied for years to try and find what is the asymmetrical returns. You can't do 10 different things consistently for your health and fitness because you'll just eventually stop doing them. So what you do need to focus on is what are the 1 or 2 things in each area of your life that give you asymmetrical returns. For sales, the asymmetrical is 2 things. Anybody know what the two things are for asymmetrical returns in sales? I've given you one of them. Well done, Carolina. Yep. Internal mastery, which is state basically, plus the pain and the problem. If you just focus on those 2 things, that is asymmetrically going to give you better returns than anything else. Focus on making sure that you turn up to the call with the right state, and focus on making sure that you actually dig into the pain and the problem deep enough that everything else becomes easier. And if we want to go with what Emil said, even for internal mastery, if there was one thing within the internal mastery, it would be the pre-call checklist plus superhuman sleep. If you just master those 2 things, your pre-call checklist, guys, is not going to work very well if you're not well slept. So if you master your sleep, like I think it was Daniel just got his stuff all blacked out. If you actually black out your room, like I've told you guys, and fully black it out, and you wear earplugs so you can't see any light and you can't hear anything at all, you will be like, holy shit, my life feels completely different. You'll have so much emotional regulation and state control, and you'll just feel on cloud nine all the time. You'll be mind blown. So just focus on that and then do the prequel checklist. And then in terms of tactics, just focus on how to peel back the layers in the pain and the problem. Okay. All right, guys, who wants to come up and share any big takeaways? We're going to do 5-10 minutes of big takeaways and then we'll head off. Anybody want to come up? All right, we've got Daniel. I'm going to bring Daniel up. Got two Daniels, actually.
All right. Can you guys hear
All
me?
right, what's going on, brother? Yes, just in case you're going to mention anything about the sleep, just bear in mind this is going on YouTube, so don't give any details on how to do it because I don't give that away for free.
Okay. Yeah. No, I was gonna say one of the most big takeaways for me was when you broke down like how you would go about the role play. And it's like you ask one question, you get a response, and you know exactly what you're gonna tackle after that from what they say. And it was just so amazing for me to see how you simplify things. And it's like, I think in my head I should do this and where I should go with that. And it's like just think, ask the question you think you want to ask, and you're gonna get the best response for that. So that was like the biggest takeaway for me.
Absolutely, brother. Got to be present, got to silence your mind, no agenda. Just listen to what they say and think, okay, I'm curious. They said blank. I'm just going to ask the question about that thing. And you just go one step at a time. Great stuff. All right, let's
100%.
the other Daniel, Daniel G. We've got Daniel D and Daniel G. You there, brother? Can't see you.
All right. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm here. I was
there
just
he is.
muted and camera off. So, well, my biggest takeaway today is that that fiber of life that you mentioned, how everything is threaded together, makes a lot of sense that if you pull one string, the others will follow. Because I can now see clearly what to aim for with the questioning in terms of financial. I named it social, which includes family, friends, sex life, dating life, and health, right? Because at the end of every summary after the discovery, it is easier to see when the seesaw is on where we need it to be to get the sale. So that's the biggest takeaway. It's a very clear indication of when we got to the point where it really, like you said, fucking absurd for them not to do everything they can to buy. Even if they don't have the money, they will go get it. Because it's like at that point, their life depends on it. So
Exactly.
that's my biggest takeaway today. It's just having the clarity perfectly on when to know it's just enough and I can move on. So thank you for that. It's very, very cool.
Great summary, great takeaway. All right, we've got Alex. Going to bring up Alex. Oh, I'll put you on spotlight. Press one button.
All right. So, Josh, this is a takeaway, but it's also a question. So, what I got from this, and this is like complementary to maybe a previous role play or training session we had, in terms of ownership, keep asking the why. Like that why question in my mind while on calls or even reviewing them makes sense to get ownership. But then the so, like when reviewing the calls or even when we're talking to the prospect, so those two things I'm gonna take away from here, like have them as a frame of mind to get the pain, problem, impact, and then the why, get the ownership. Would you say that's accurate?
I love it. I love it. Beautiful. Well, connected together. Yeah. One side of it is you want to understand cause and effect. In other words, the cause. You're like, what's causing this? Why is that happening? The other side is you want kind of the deeper layer of effect. When someone tells you cause and effect, they're usually telling you layer one of the effect. You need layer 5. Otherwise, you're not going to sell them anything. So yeah, you're kind of starting with that center point, which is like a very small version of the effect. Hey, what's the biggest challenge you're having in your business right now? Low lead flow. Well, that's an effect of something, but it's certainly not deep enough. What you're then doing with your why is getting the cause, and with your so is getting the deeper impacts of that effect. So you're kind of spreading out both of those. I really like that. Good stuff.
That makes total sense. Thanks.
Very welcome, brother. All right. And then we have Jay has some takeaways. Guys, if you have any takeaways, put your hand up in the Zoom software. Oh, Martin's got one. Excellent. And I'll bring you up.
Hi,
What's
guys.
going on, brother?
So, two short takeaways. One is the more direct you are with your questions, the quicker you get to the essence. That's the first one.
Yep.
Second one is if there's no other way for people, so no other way out for people to solve a burning problem, they will find a way to solve it with you right now.
Exactly.
And
If
then
they
I,
feel in their mind that this burning problem is so bad and it's not just going to dissipate on its own, people don't want to be in suffering. But if someone feels like, oh, it's really shit living with my parents and they don't want to talk to me, but they're leaving in 6 weeks, they already have that back door in their mind of the pain's going to go away. Like, to use a really extreme example, and this is like pretty extreme, but one of the things, I don't remember what the law is, but there was a law somewhere, I'm pretty sure it's in the States, where like no matter how bad of a, and it's in most states that don't have like the electric chair or the death penalty, there's like a law, I can't remember how it's phrased, but it's basically like no matter how bad someone has committed a crime or done something, you can't take away their hope. You can't take away their hope that they could potentially come out of prison or they could potentially have another life in the future. Like keeping them in a place where they have to have the ability to still feel like they have a chance is like part of their human rights or something like that. If you think of the opposite, that's what we're doing on a sales call. It's like they can't have any hope. They can't have hope that this pain is going to get better or it's going to go away or it's not that bad of a deal. If they have any hope, they're not going to give you their credit card. So like you're kind of getting them to a place where, and it has to be ethical, where they really don't have any hope that this pain is going to get better or disappear. And like that's like putting them into absolute guilt and shame, which sounds bad, but you're putting them into that place of clarity so that they actually can choose to do something about it. They don't want to live life like that any longer. And they'll actually continue to live life in that deprived state, in that less than optimal place, if they feel that they have some hope. So you have an ethical duty to kind of take their hope away so that they don't actually live in denial and continue for another 6 months or 6 years living in this deprived place. Does that make sense?
and then I have a last one that ties into that, which is if they don't think it's their fault, they won't buy from you. Which ties into commitment and responsibility, right? Ownership.
Exactly. Yeah, if they don't see that they are the cause and the effect, then how are they going to feel that they are the ones that needs to take an action off their own back to fix it? They don't see that they are the captain of their own ship. They are the controller of their own life. If they don't see that, they won't buy from you.
Thank you,
Great
man.
takeaway.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Then we have Martin, and then I'll do Kendra at the end. All right, Martin. Let's go.
There we go. Perfect. Yeah, well, hard to say the main takeaways because basically mind blown by this. But just the fact that how it all ties together, like peel the onion and the golden ratio on how it ties together, and like the majority of like where you have to put your focus, like that's never thought of it like that because I always learn from basically a script and you focus on this and this part, and then you maybe have a few more questions here, but not more than that, where here you just put all your focus in basically in one place and then the others give themselves.
Yeah.
It's also like the peel the onion strategy, or like the way to think about that, like the so thought also ties into kind of like the detachment. So what? And also ties into the curiosity that we need to have, and that's why we can't bring any agenda to the call because we just need to listen and be full present to what the prospect's actually saying, and then be curious about it. So like, well, why is that a problem, basically?
Great takeaway, brother. All right, final takeaway from Kendra, guys, and then we'll head off for the weekend.
So
Oh, I pressed the wrong button. Shit, what did I press? All right, we didn't catch any of that. I pressed the wrong button. I was supposed to press that for Martin. Start again.
All good. I thought it was my connection. So yeah, it was super helpful because I think, well, one of my biggest is being more direct with my questions and less vague. So that's going to be something I'm working on for sure. And then I really liked how you did like the seesaw and put it as like, it has to be like the so what has to be the amount of what you're actually selling and more. So I think just having that visual makes a big difference because I think for myself, I'm just like very much growth oriented and growth minded. So I'm not, I guess, just having that visual of like how much pain that person really needs to put themselves in or you need to put them into before they're like, okay, there's no other choice sort of thing. So yeah, that was really huge.
Yeah. That seesaw, everyone, is why if you implement that, you shouldn't be going through your sales calls with any like hoping and praying that a prospect closes. If you visualize that seesaw and you're on the sales call, you're like, I know this person's going to close. Now, sure, there'll be a very small number of people that you're just like blown away that they still didn't buy. But you should never be running your life as a salesperson like uncertain. Like, are they going to close? Are they not going to close? Should I pitch them? Should I not pitch them? You should be rolling into the pitch being like, man, this is a steal for this person. They give me $5,000 and I give them the equivalent of $105,000 back, you know, a dating life, a social life, the future time that they're going to spend with their parents. Fuck, like maybe we should increase the price. And by the way, that's why when I was on offers, sometimes I would just charge a random different price. I would go so deep in the pain. I'm like, well, the offer here is 14K, but I'm just gonna say it's 20. And then I would close it at 20. Because like I'm like, well, this is a bargain, so I'm just gonna do it for 20. So that's how you do it, because you know with absolute certainty how heavy the seesaw is balanced. Yeah, like when I was selling a cybersecurity offer, the offer was 5K. And I just started selling it for 10 because I was digging so deep into people's pain that them not having the cybersecurity training was costing them like 300 grand a year. So I was like, well, I'm just going to sell this thing for 10K. And then everyone else on the team was like, how are you doing this? And I was like, well, do you not think it's worth 10K? And they were like, well, no, not really, because, you know, they've got a job that's 150 grand and, you know, they could be making 200 grand in cybersecurity. And I was like, it's nothing to do with that. Like, it's the long term, how much they've stayed at 150 for the last 3 years, the last 4 years, the last 5 years, how it's affecting their confidence, how it's affecting their marriage, how it's affecting their dating life. You stack all of that together and the offer's worth 15. I mean, later on, we started selling it for 15 grand. So if you know what you're doing and the pain and the problem, and it's ethical, you can sell something for more than you're selling it for, guys. The only reason you're selling it at the current price is because you don't know how to actually go deeper into the layers. Once you go deeper into the layers, so long as it's, you know, I think realistically for me, I think something should be a 10x to know that you're going to sell them. Like if I'm going to sell someone a 10K program, I need to be able to crystal clear show them that it's worth 100. And it's like I don't have any part of me that feels bad to sell a program for double the price if it's worth 10 times more for the prospect. Right? All right.
That's awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Very welcome. Guys, gals, I'll see you next Wednesday. Have a great couple of days. I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Josh.
Very welcome, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Woo! There we go. Another high ticket sales role play, and boy, did we go deep. We went into the golden ratio sales, which is why you're wasting so much time and not making the money that you want to be making, because the training that you're maybe doing, maybe you're not even doing training, that's another story. The training you're doing is not weighted on the thing that has asymmetrical returns on your results in sales and you making the money that you want to be making. You should not be spending all this time on tonality training, objection handling training, rehearsing your script practicing your follow-up text messages or emails, managing your pipeline. None of that. The big thing that you need to master, as I said, is the internal mastery, which is going to have an asymmetrical impact on the results you get on the sales call, and mastering how to dig into the pain and the problem. Now, before any of you say, well, I sell an offer that's not pain or problem. Pain or problem doesn't mean someone's going, ouch. Pain or problem means what is it costing them to continue having what they currently have in terms of solution or way of doing things versus what would they have if they had your way of doing things. That's what I mean by pain or problem. Some people call it the gap. If all you master is showing the gap of how much below par they currently are with what they're doing, you will get asymmetrical returns in sales. This is not my opinion. This is proven in studies of people that have mastered multiple different fields. I explained Josh Waitzkin. He's just one example. I could give you multiple other examples. There are people that have become the top 0.0001% in multiple fields. How do you do that in one fucking lifetime? You do it by knowing what to focus on. How do you know what to focus on? You have to have the right mental models. How do you get the right mental models? By working with the right mentor. Someone that is not going to waste your fucking time trying to charge you to teach you things that are not where the money is waiting for you. The money is waiting for you in the internal mastery and in mastering scriptless selling, which is how to go deeper and deeper into the layers of the pain or the problem. So, if you know that you are flushing all of that money down the table, leaving all of that money on the table, flushing all of that money down the toilet, and you are sick and tired of not being able to print the money and put it into your bank account as a closer that you truly want to be earning, and you know you need to start working directly with me inside these calls, doing the role plays, having your calls broken down, getting access to the internal mastery training that I teach these unicorn closers, that I taught Alex Hormozi's old gym launch sales team, then click the link below and actually take action. Stop saying that you're not making the money that you want to be making. You're making the money that you are choosing to be making. You are making exactly the amount of money that you have chosen to be making. If you don't want to keep making that limited amount of money, then make a different choice to make a different amount of money. If you want to get on the inside of the mastermind around the other unicorns, get the training, get the mentorship, get the community that you need to go to the next level, you've been shown what you need to work on. The question is, are you actually going to take action and get to work on those things so that you can make the money that you truly want to be making? I'll see you on the inside.